I remember when I was working at the Redbud Library and Manisa had just gotten her driver's license. And I was like, oh, I'm going to print some things out for you. Because I was worried about her getting pulled over, about her rights. So it's important to know what they are. Another thing that's important to know is that before I started bartending, I was a barback. Now, what that means is I did all the fucked up hard work involved in like setting up the bar and preparing it and getting it ready for people to use it. And it was backbreaking work. And then throughout the whole shift, I had to be on top of everything except for the counter. But I did have to wipe it off and make sure it was clean. And, make sure everything was flowing properly. Now, what I didn't consider was that alcohol and all of that was basically parts of myself and my family. It never even occurred to me that that was what it was. And the reason is because, from my point of view, it wasn't. And it wasn't the people that were drinking it. It wasn't them either. Like, I never once considered it being something that we were trying to recover. And then it dawned on me just yesterday when I was thinking about jars and urns and how come, this is good for the libraries to know, by the way. This one especially. How come jars have such variety in terms of shape? And then the ones that have a tendency to get used at the bar, the ones that are actually pitchers, are what we also use for our tip jars. Tip jars. Tree of knowledge of good and evil. The reason why I say that is because what kind of tips in terms of knowledge is in that jar other than dollar bills? Is that because Esparto has excuse me one second. Yeah, no, I'm good. I was just commenting on something. What's up?
I just lost $1,000, but that's okay.
Why? You lost $1,000. Oh.
I'll see you later.
Okay. On that subject, yeah, so knowledge of good and evil. And how that's a tip, right? It's a tip. He just identified another tip. His tip was that he just lost $1,000. It's a little bit of information, and it also shows or demonstrates what his worth is in terms of money, but it's not in terms of character. That's what's not something you can quantify like that. That's priceless. Character is priceless. Also, being whole and not parted out, that's priceless too. When we're parted out and pieced out, like little bits of us are just spread out. And when you're spread out, by the way, it's not when we're out there giving away sex or whatever. That's not doing it. You know what is? Darwin. It's taking insects little insects, and you take each segment apart and you identify each little piece, and then it forces us to occupy each little section. I suspect it was because of what happened with Darwin that made it so that in Egypt they had to start doing things a little differently and preparing the body differently in order to follow that same process. Once Darwin did that, it set in motion a chain of events that was like any other. Like, as soon as he started identifying and pinning all these little parts of each insect and then writing it down and doing all that, it essentially made it so, one, we were forever going to be linked with English, which is fine. Two, we're going to be forever segmented and fragmented. Three, the cultures that are going to be mostly affected by that, you'll know because they're going to be the first ones using the sticks. So chopsticks. They're going to be one of the first, I would imagine, to be the ones that are like, oh my God, what are my tools here? What am I going to use to get them back? Chopsticks. Okay. Then eventually, when it got to the point where it was like Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, what are they going to use? Fork. Pitchfork. Pitchfork. Why is it called a pitchfork? Neptune